you guys all set? If so, I will call this meeting to order. And if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll get this started.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So we have an appointment at 5:35 for the liquor license hearing. Is everybody here? Just you? Do you want to start early?
If you want, that's
No. No.
Oh, it was, that's right. Sorry, we gotta wait.
Just in case somebody
Shows up. So we have 4 minutes. Mr. Martin, do you have anything with us for us to occupy that time?
I suppose I can.
Rather than sitting in silence, right?
It's up to the board. All right, I have 2 Dufresne rentals. The first one is a birthday party on August 28th, 2021, arriving 8 a.m., departing 9 p.m. No liquor, number of people 100, and it's the parking lot area, open field, wooded areas on either side of the open field and the pavilion. And the second one is a family reunion on September 18th, 2021, arriving 12 p.m., departing 6 p.m., no liquor, number of people 200, area requested is the parking lot area, open field, wooded areas on either side of the open field and the pavilion.
Alrighty.
Okay, and under correspondence, we received our annual franchise check from Comcast. We now have a boil water order for the public safety complex. But the nice thing is, we're not alone in all this. Just about every public water supply is been contaminated with bacteria because of the high water levels and all the rain.
Oh, okay.
So we're not alone in this, so it's,
Yeah, we still under order here?
yes, we are.
So
We did have someone come and start to camera our well pipe itself, because they believe that it is weeping, that the groundwater is weeping into the well itself, so we may have to replace the pipe. He did get down, but then he didn't have the tool to remove the pump and the cable to go all the way down.
Oh, okay.
So he's coming back again to remove the cable and pump, and then actually be able to camera the whole pipe all the way down. So I think Jeremy said, correct me if I'm wrong, that it did look like we did have some weeping in the area that they did camera. So I got a feeling we're going to have to be replacing the casing for our well at some point.
Okay.
Okay. So, a lot of fun.
Fountain and good news there, Jeremy.
So,
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Well, a minute and 30 seconds, really.
Want to go through the warrants?
I can do the warrants real quick if you want.
Thank you.
Sure,
Okay.
that'll work for me.
We have 4 warrants in front of the board. First one is for fiscal year 2021, warrant number 83, in the amount of $12,240.76, dated for June 30th of 2021. For FY '22, we have warrant number 6, in the amount of $395,996.30, dated July 23rd, 2021. That is the payroll warrant. We have warrant number 7 in the amount of $350,310.43, dated 7/23/21. That is also the maintenance warrant that goes with the payroll warrant. And we have warrant number 8 in the amount of $140,883.21, dated 7/30/21. Motion to approve.
Yep.
I will take a motion to approve.
I would like to make a motion to approve warrants number 83, number 6, number 7, and number 8.
I'll second the motion.
Alrighty, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And it is now 5:35. Perfect.
You have in front of you a application by Brusso Liquors.
It's in here.
The original owner is deceased, and this is a request for a change in officers, directors, and managers, and a change in stock interest.
I don't think manager's on that.
It's all as one item.
Okay, 'cause I don't think for this town the manager's changed. Michelle Stevens, she
It has Michelle Stevens.
was, yeah, she's still the
Yeah,
manager.
but I'm reading what the box is checked off.
I agree.
Yeah, I think my attorneys might have done it because some of the towns it did change and they might have, checked those boxes all the same for everybody.
So it's just a change of officers?
Officers and ownership, yeah. I think it's.
Jen, have him identify himself.
Could you just please identify yourself for the
Yeah,
camera?
I'm Dan Russo, the son of Richard, who deceased. I've been running the business since 2012. We bought the GRANBY store, that's for almost 4 years now. And we've already been through the process for the wear license, and, we had a couple things that the state needed. So we've been through the process already, and so the paperwork as far as what they've approved first for them has already been, it's been kind of sent through the channels once. So part of the, what we had approved was that the intention of my father's will for us to inherit business, me and my son. So, not sure if there's anything else you guys need from me, or.
Give me just 1 second, I'm just looking at. Okay.
Do we have to go through the query process on this?
State,
Yes, it should be Cory forms.
You did it? Okay.
the state does the core reform on
Well,
the
we fill
license.
out the form for them to be able to,
Got it,
yeah,
yeah.
it should all be included in there. My lawyers did, I had 4 sets of these to do, one for each town, so,
Oh, I see Ware, Barry, Palmer, and us.
yeah, and so the first one we did was the Ware one. And, it bounced back from the state a couple times, there's a couple things they needed that we had to get to them. And so all that knowledge that that we learned of what they need has been included in the other 3 packages.
Yeah, it looks. Okay. Do you want to look at this?
No. Everything there? That's right.
Everything looks to be here, yes.
Chris, you went through all this?
And we're not missing anything? I mean, I looked quickly and I didn't.
Apparently, I didn't see anything missing, so.
I didn't see anything either, because I was looking through what we've done in the past.
And I know Kathy checked it through it too, and she didn't see anything missing, so
All right, so it's basically,
a complete package.
it is a complete package, which means we are just needing to decide.
Kathy, that's all the stuff you sent out in the email, correct?
Yep, and then we have butters here, I don't know if they want them to say or not.
These guys are the butters.
Did you have anything that you'd like to say? Or are you just here to see what's going on?
I'm not sure if it's.
You gotta just stand and tell us
Yep,
who you are.
and just
Sorry.
identify yourself and your address for the camera.
My name is Nicholas Kofidas. I live at 365 East State Street, right next door to the liquor store. I'm not really sure if this is the proper place for this, but we have had issues with incidents at the store.
Such as?
Cutting our bushes. We've had incidents that I should have called the police, but I haven't. A couple nights ago, a burnout was done on the side of the building at 9 o'clock at night. And they try to touch our property continuously.
How so?
When they have they've had a street sweeper, people blowing the grass, everything comes up on our property, all of our cars.
Are you behind them or
Right next door.
next?
I'm on the corner.
Okay.
So we've had some issues, and I would hopefully that would stop happening. And I mean, I have no issue with the change of ownership. I know that,
I guess the only thing that I've heard from the landscaper and maybe the manager, Michelle, and my wife, that they did complain once about the bushes being trimmed. So they have bushes that line the property, and they grow out over into my, the property line. So the guys, trim them.
you can trim the side, but they trim the top.
Okay, so I mean, so I will talk to, I'll talk to my landscaper about that, and they should know, I mean, obviously, they're not our bushes,
Right.
and they should not be trimming the top. So if you have any things, I mean, obviously, you can come to me directly. I'm the guy who can resolve this stuff. As far as that burnout goes, I mean, I have a camera, so if it's an employee of mine that did it, I mean, 9 o'clock.
It wasn't an
probably-
employee.
But if it is somebody and you want to find out who it is, we probably can get their license plate number.
Okay.
Okay, if they're in my parking lot, obviously I don't want them doing that either because,
They're gonna tear up your asphalt.
well, just not that, it's safety for other customers and things like that. I mean, it's not a playground,
Yeah.
it's a business.
So, all right, since there's no,
No.
I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept
The change
the
of,
liquor license from Brusso's, and I forget the address.
the change of
I didn't hear you.
367 East State Street.
367 East State Street.
You accepting or approving it?
We're
Approve.
approving the change.
Approving.
You approve it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're approving the change. Is
I
there a
know, it's
second?
making clear because you said accept, so.
Oh, I didn't.
No.
Sorry, it's approved.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I second it, I want to make sure we're approving it.
I agree. And maybe I should
I'll make-
listen to him more often. Because I don't. Clearly.
I'll second the motion as amended.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, you are all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And while we're waiting for our next appointment, we've been contacted by 3 individuals who are not accepting the appointment that we made back in beginning of July. Larry Petrus has chosen to retire from the Cable Advisory Committee. Emery Everin has said he is not going to serve, and Tammy Bailey declined to be the alternate dog officer.
Okay, so we have those 3 things open.
Yes.
And Larry and Emery were both cable advisory, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I handed out to you tonight, Mr. Braziel came in today and handed me a proposed schedule of hours that he would devote to the fire department while finishing up some of his contracts that he has, signed contracts as under his private business. It's right there, it's that email,
Correct?
that email right there, Glenn. Nope,
You just put your paper.
you just covered it.
This one.
There you go.
Okay. And it looks like it is 5:45, so Mr. Jeremy Carrier, would you like to take the floor?
Evening.
Hello there.
Just roll into,
What?
want me to just roll right into
Roll
what I'm
right
here
in.
for? Okay. Well, thank you to the Select Board for allowing me to come before you this evening. As you may know, I'm here to discuss some of the roles of the Facility Maintenance Department this evening in regards to our parks and the high school properties for athletic fields. Since my start back in July of 2019, kind of things have evolved a little bit from what originally thought or how it was going to work for the department, and I thank you for, during this time, helping with some growing pains and
You had
trying to
one
get over them.
screaming, so that's a good thing.
So when I did take over the mowing of the parks and athletic fields for the high schools, I was also told at that time that the highway department's role for preparation and maintenance of all the athletic fields, such as baseball fields and softball fields, was going to end at that point. At that time, I had asked Mr. DeRocher if I was able to use some of the equipment that was in possession of the highway department at that time to do the maintenance of those fields. Because currently the Parks Oversight Committee had purchased a Toro field maintainer, infield maintainer, excuse me. So what that device does is once a field has been properly prepared, the turf area is pulled back and you have what most people call as the skin, it's just the soil. That area then can be fluffed, it can be leveled out a little bit with that maintainer. Not all the implements were purchased for that maintainer at that time, just so everybody knows there are other implements that can be purchased with it. But when I had asked David to use the other equipment, such as I probably need a bobcat, a soil conditioner, which basically is like a rake that's a power rake. It will actually pull out grass, turf areas, stones, even out the ground. I was told that at that time I would need to have a hoisting engineer's license to use any of the said equipment. Giving it a little time, I went in December of that year of 2019, and I took courses that prepared me to take the state exams for the said licenses. I went in February of 2020, and I received my HE1C telescoping booms without cables, and my HE2A, which allows for excavator use. So therefore, I'm fully licensed up to pretty much the level of anybody that's at the highway department for operation of those
So
said
you're basically
equipment.
licensed to operate any of the equipment we currently own?
Correct. The only thing that I would not be able to operate nor would want to would be their pumper truck, and I do not have a CDL license at this time to transport some of the equipment.
Okay.
Some of the equipment would actually still need to have someone with a Class A CDL, which only 2 people in the highway department at this time maintain. That was Russ and Dave. So they themselves, for other people in the department, have to
Transport.
load up the trailers. Yeah, the trailer and the weight of the vehicle towing it needs a Class A
Okay.
CDL, not even a Class B can drive that. Once I did furnish my license to him, a copy of it for his record to maintain, I was told then that I would be able to use it if he trained me on all the equipment. I have since then asked for training on it. He will not allow anybody else to train, it'd be himself.
Wait. Hold on one second for me.
Yep.
So Dave is saying that you can't use it until he's trained you on it, even though you've passed your licensing?
Correct.
Is that standard?
Some businesses may want that, so that there are different types of equipment out there. You know, when you're going through it, there could be quirks of an equipment, there could be,
Okay,
you know,
so not to
different,
use
so
it, but the
it's,
individual
yeah,
personality
it's
of each
totally
case?
not without the, you know, I don't find that out of line.
Okay.
that somebody would want you to be trained a little more
And when
time
you
on
drive a
equipment.
car, but some cars are different to drive.
Try my
Right,
stick shift,
yeah,
see what
yeah,
happens.
I mean, that's, and that's exactly it. I had operated equipment in the past, everything has changed. There used to
Okay.
be Bobcats that used to use foot controls and everything, it's now all joystick controls and levers, so yeah. So, not without, question that could be something to do. So I have approached on several times. So my biggest thing is now, we've had over the last year and a half or so, the worst times with COVID.
Yep.
We've had unexpected closures of our athletic fields. We've had lack of use on them. Last year, we were asked when our health department finally allowed us to try to have some games over at Brown Ellison's. We actually had 4 of us that went over there by hand for 3 days with a tiller, a walk-behind tiller, rakes, shovels, wheelbarrows, trying to clear field, just so that the children could use it. This year, when again approaching, if I could use the power equipment to do the fields properly, Dave actually stood in himself using his equipment and did a preparation of the fields. Maybe not to the level that even I think would be fully acceptable. The infield maintainer will only maintain a field. So if there's built-in grass that's in there and there's a lot of rocks, all it's going to do is move it around. There's no way for me to gather it up other than hand raking an entire field. And then when I do hand rake it, to remove all of the material, I would really need like a bucket, something, mechanical to move that, without putting all the rest of us in, the hospital or some type
With a
of cardiac
Bobcat
problem.
comes in and-
Where a Bobcat, yeah, the amount of work could be done in a very, very
short
quick
period of
time, and make it better. So I have, of course, been approached by many, many people in town from the GAA, and also from the athletics for the high school, talking more about the infield maintainer. I think a lot of people think it's the most wonderful piece of equipment that they've ever heard of and want the schools to be able to use it. They want people from GA to be able to use it. They want us to go out there and use it more. Again, it's not going to make a field that's in poor shape now playable. It really isn't. So my biggest question to the board is, how do we proceed forward to try to make these fields playable for the students at the schools, for the other people that want to be on the GAA, even if a family just comes out to one of our parks on a weekend and wants to play on a field.
Okay, well, I'm going to answer your question with a question, Jeremy.
Sure,
So you said that the maintainer won't fix a field that's already bad.
correct.
What do we need to do to fix the bad fields? What is it that needs to be done? I don't know anything about sports.
Yep. Well, and that's where a lot of times people that have talked to me also find that they think that I'm ignorant when it comes to athletics or fields. Just to shed a little background, and anybody watching this afterwards find out that I actually worked for 10 years at Hopkins Academy and I worked as assistant head custodian for 10 years, and we maintained all the athletic fields. Okay, so I am very familiar with what's supposed to be done and the conditions, playability. We had kind of a similar thing where, unfortunately, the town's highway department that let us use equipment, the equipment was getting outdated, and they didn't want to replace it because it wasn't needed for anything they were doing for highway. So that we actually went out and purchased equipment. At that time, what we needed was a tractor that we could put a loader on the front, a little bucket. Even a half yard would suffice. We had a pull-behind tiller on that unit, and it was a 3-foot, the same exact width you need for your baseball, your baseline.
Okay.
Because again, if the maintainer is actually over 5 feet wide, so you can't do baselines with it at all, just so you know that as well, and the town knows that. There's nothing you can do with that except for the front bar on there, which only pushes the soil, and it usually gathers it to the side, and then you have berms all along it. I would say also a pull-behind soil conditioner, or what's called a box rake. It's a powered box rake, so it goes on your PTO, and that's, again, what can rake out rocks, all your thatch that's in there, your grass clumps.
I've heard that's the problem over there.
It's a really big problem. And then a drag screen that would go behind it to do finish things that the infield maintainer could not do. And then a walk-behind tiller for just edges and cutting in where you wouldn't want to have a large machine because you're going to rip up your lawn more on the edges. So some of these things, again, the Bobcat for the highway department does have a soil conditioner, or some people call it a scarifier. It kind of goes by both names. Again, it's just a power machine
So
that
we
will
currently do
activate
have
it.
that one in town.
That one is in town, yes.
Okay, so the soil conditioner we have, as well as the Bobcat.
Yeah.
And we also have the infield maintainer.
Correct.
So the things that we don't have in order to get those fields into shape, so that way the infield maintainer can actually deal with that, can we rent those?
Yeah.
Are they rentable?
They are rentable. You just might want to look at the cost factor, like, say, like a walk-behind tiller. If we're going to use it for a total of, say, 2 weeks to go do all the fields, and the rental cost would be about the same as buying a, you know, $1,000 one, we wouldn't want to.
I mean, that's something to
that.
definitely talk about later on. So we've got 3 of the things needed that are under direction of the highway department,
Correct.
and you're licensed to use all of them.
Correct.
Okay. And having them would help you do your job better?
Oh, they definitely would, yes.
And the holdup is the superintendent,
Is
the highway department, right?
being authorized, yes, by the superintendent to use them. And again, I have no opposition to any type of training course that he would want to offer to assist me to get to what he would consider to be proficient to operate.
Proficient to
them.
operate? Well, I mean,
As long as we're not talking over a 5-year period of time here.
I don't I don't want to see any of us being proprietary about town-owned equipment. So I think that's a discussion that's going to need to be had.
You know, if that's something that he doesn't want to do, then maybe, again, the select board would look at, then maybe that's something that he would need to take back over and own as a responsibility, which I don't think he wants, so.
Well, I
maybe
know,
that
I know
discussion-
you taking it over took a lot off of his plates, that he was able to
Right.
devote more time to other things, so I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go about
Yeah.
that.
And it is one of the main reasons too, that I actually went to get licensed. I have no problem at all, and I know I've spoken with Mr. Martin about this, and I've spoken with Dave on it. You know, if there was a need that the highway department needed an operator, and they didn't have something, I as well would step in for that. The other bonus to that would be is, even in the winter time, we have to wait to get loaded for sand and salt, where if I've been trained on using his loader, I wouldn't have to wait to get loaded with sand and salt. So it would also,
I'm
It's
gonna stop
beneficial
you.
on both sides.
One thing.
Sure.
You said his loader, and you said his equipment. It's Granby's, it's
well,
not
that's,
his.
that's the way I feel, but.
So,
Yeah.
personally, I mean, the rest of the board can weigh in on this. Personally, I think that we clearly cannot afford for each department to have their own equipment.
Correct.
There's never gonna be a
There's
chance
not
where
a
we can
need
do that.
for every
And there is no
department
need
to have
for it, so we're going to learn to share.
Jeremy, he just wants you to
Right.
see you do it, train you on how to move it, what you already went through training on. So
That
it's
was-
just his training,
That was the discussion, yes,
Okay.
so it could be 15 minutes.
could be. That's something
You
you'll have
don't
to
know,
discuss
so it's
with
up to
him
him,
too, yeah.
okay.
Again, it hasn't been, I actually, just because of the time it's been since that I've done that, I just had to literally renew my license this past. yes,
So
this
you've had your
month.
license this entire time and
So I
haven't been able
just-
to use it?
Correct,
Well, that's a waste.
it is. I think it's a waste of resources
Yes.
and money and
Correct.
time.
I mean,
It's just-
we're paying you to do a job, and you're doing a great job,
Thank
but
you.
it would
Yeah.
be beneficial if you could do your entire job.
You just stop reading Facebook.
Don't listen to Facebook.
And that's the thing, is I, you know, just throw it out there, is that I do take what I do very seriously, and I take how I do it very seriously. And when somebody says I'm not doing it right, I thrive on positive, so when I hear negative, I try to correct it and get to
Right.
that point. And people that know me will know that and hopefully see it, but again, where we can correct, I would love to.
Yes, are our fields currently playable?
I would
mean,
say no, as far as Brown Ellison is pretty much grown in all the way.
And there's no
I know the
saving
first
it?
2 fields, not with an infield maintainer. If we had the other equipment, we could go through there and dig them up. It would take some work. And again, moving things out, even when he does, you'll see even at the high school where David has done it, most of the time when they move the soil out, they don't even remove it. They dump it by first base and third base, which to me, I would remove it completely so that way, you know, you could put it off to the edge of the field somewhere, and then you can reuse that, because as the stuff that's in it composts, then it's a reusable soil.
I mean, it's disheartening to know that we have fields that we can't play on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was in, that's what, more than anything, a couple weeks ago, I went to mow over at Dufresne. Of course, that's another animal in itself, was the amount of rain that we've received this year. You know, people go, oh, the grass is growing like crazy. And I go, no, the grass is growing at a good rate. It's the weeds that are really, but at Brown Ellison, and that's a kind of a separate topic, we do have it fertilized by GAA. And I have the irrigation going, which I know prior to me starting, I had heard numerous times the irrigation never worked.
Right.
And last year I took a week rebuilding the system after someone had smashed it, and I check it every morning by 6:05 a.m. and make sure that it's going.
Well, that's even more frustrating if we're irrigating a field that can't be
Right.
played on. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we want to make it playable.
Yeah, but we're talking about baseball diamond fields, right? Or you're talking about soccer fields
For,
also?
for this part, for all the equipment and everything,
It's
yeah.
baseball.
But all the soccer fields over there at Brown Nelson are fertilized.
Yeah.
Which was a separate topic, but I'm not too worried about it. People are complaining it's mowed at too high a height, but we've of course spoken with Andy Deecher, who's the person that fertilizes it, and he's had discussions that you don't want to really mow it any lower than 3 1/4 inch while he's fertilizing it, because if we do, even with irrigation,
it'll burn, won't it?
we're going to burn it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we're
what I
going to
thought.
chemically burn it. Right now, it's in great shape. It's thicker than I've seen it. I mean, I schooled there for years, and it was so thin it wouldn't grow in. And now all the bald areas where they normally play are filling in great, and it's tough turf. You go on it with a mower and you turn, it doesn't just rip out. It stays good. So when they're using cleats this year, it should really get a good grip for their cleats instead of slide.
I mean, I know there's not anything that we can do about it right now, but do you know approximately what it would cost to bring these fields back?
I don't. I mean, manpower would, you know, once we get the equipment, the manpower would be a lot.
A lot.
I am worried that we might have to, you know, if you're definitely going to want to maintain it to a standard that people are talking about, and I know nobody wants to hear this, but you might be looking at another person more as a regular,
help
as a
your-
parks department. And that was one thing I wrote in here, and I didn't know if we wanted to look at in the future, creating parks department under the maintenance department and specifically have like a person that is designated to take care of them.
Just the parks? I mean, because right now you do all of our public buildings as well as parks.
And that's, yeah, and that's it. So, I mean, on the high school, you have four fields. And I don't mean soccer fields, these are just baseball or softball fields. You have 3 at Dufresne's Park and you have 1 at Brown Ellison. So just maintaining those, when I worked at Hopkins, we would have persons spend 4 hours a day.
On one field?
Just, no, going back and forth between the fields. So if we had a game that day, say on the varsity field, the priority would be the varsity field once that was up to standards. And again, we had the heavier equipment there, and every other week we would literally fluff up a field is what we called it. So we would go through and till it, and then power box rake it, and then we would go through with the rake, and it would be beautiful again. You have to every once in a while do that. The weeds are going to grow through. I don't, you know, and we in Hadley actually amended the soil, put in 1 part of masonry, 2 parts of masonry sand and 1 part of red clay. That helped the pack and the grip better, and the weeds didn't grow through as much. You have a lot of soil on these fields.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, you know, it's
We
there's,
just can go right through it.
yeah, so I mean, it's a constant battle. They're not gonna be, you know, I get people that come up and say, oh, I went over to East Long Meadow, oh, I went to South Hadley, and I'm looking at every place these people are talking about going, you have a full-time park department there.
Right.
You have 4 or 5 people there. And most are under a highway department where, you know, they can get the large equipment in if need be, but again, it's a time factor. You know, I would say right now, like if I had training on equipment and total access to it, you're still talking 2 weeks to go through all the fields just to get out the big clumps of grass.
So just to get them to bare
Yeah.
minimum
And
decent?
I'd like to see if I have some means of doing that into the fall, because as weeds start to choke back in the cold weather, that would be the time optimally to get them really well. So that way, over the winter time, you don't have that growth of weeds through there. And then in the spring, it's just freshen them up and maintain them from that point.
Okay.
You know, right now we have the high school who has paid or had donations of a lot of money to do irrigation, to do fertilization, to do seeding, whatever they have going on over there. And lawn's coming back nice in areas, but now they're looking at, you know, well, the fields look terrible, the infields. And I don't blame people.
I mean, I really want us to have pride in our fields, and I really would like other towns that come in to play to feel like we care.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, sports are one of the few things that we have for these kids, so.
Coming out of COVID, it's, you know, I understand it.
Okay.
You know, and to be outside is great because we don't have to worry as much being in the open air, so.
So you just need access to the equipment
Yep.
to start with. right?
To start with, that would be, the greatest thing, and
We'll work on that.
then we can work from there if we need something else. Just, I'm a patient man. We can work with what we have. and,
Until we can figure out something
Right.
else.
But I just
wonder-
also wanted to make it known, I hate to say it out in the public, as to why some things might not be getting done, and I get the blame, and I can only do so much with a
Well,
rake
you
and a
should
shovel.
take the blame for what is yours,
Yeah.
not what is some out of your control. I
Right.
don't feel that that's correct. So, okay, we will work with Dave to get you access to that equipment. Let's say we'll revisit this in 2 weeks at our next meeting?
Yeah, you can give us an update in 2 weeks. We'll see where you're at that point.
Okay.
We'll follow up with Dave.
Follow up with Dave.
On that equipment that you need, so you get access to it. And maybe look at the additional equipment that you think you may need. You can look at, maybe there's some options.
If you could put
or
together
for us to obtain some of that equipment too.
options,
Okay.
pricing, things like that, see if we can figure something out.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
your time.
Jeremy.
Appreciate it.
And I really do appreciate the work you've done.
Thank you.
Tell your son, good job of getting on high earners. Tell Thomas, good job.
Alrighty, were you finished with correspondence, Mr. Martin?
Yes.
All right, then it looks like we are going on to departmental reports. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
I have.
All right, in that case, I will accept a motion.
I make a motion that we accept all the department reports.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, before you move forward, Dennis is going to want to address the board.
Okay.
Under citizen participation.
Okay.
He's writing up his topic right now. I just want to let the board know that we do have a special town meeting coming up on September 20th.
Yes.
Okay. We do have money articles on it and the recall bylaw on it. Okay? Hold on one second, Dennis. The issue is we have the tuition for a new student at Smith Folk, about $18,000. We do have the cost of the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District for providing their services for FY22, $5,000. We have the assessor's budget that was not amended at the annual town meeting, and they are going to be short, so they have to come in for that. I was speaking with the acting police chief today, and as a result of the Ed Reform Act and the part-time officers not filling a lot of the shifts, we may have to look at hiring another full-timer, possibly two, to cover those shifts. Because if Ed Reform goes through like they're saying, either we have to invest in training of those part-time officers, and then they'll be considered a fully trained officer, and they could go to another department as a full-timer. So we need to address what we're going to do there. And then we have that recall bylaw that we want to send to our legislature our legislators for presentation to the full legislative body at the state level for a home rule petition, so.
It's not legible.
That's okay.
Numbers are everything today, so.
That's okay. Dennis Poole is asking to address the board under citizen participation. He has concerns regarding what was in the Sentinel regarding the appointment of officers while the interim fire chief is in control. Is that correct, Dennis?
Yes, that is correct.
So they can catch on the.
Oh, joy.
And if you could just identify yourself by name and address, please.
Okay, Dennis Houle, 239 Chicopee Street, retired fire chief. I read what was in the Sentinel, and if you don't know by now, fire department steered very close to me. Put a lot of years in, and I don't want to see it going the wrong way. What I read was the appointment of potential deputy chief and captain. When I first came on, we had an interim chief until I come on full-time. Dave Cipher retired in July 1st. I didn't come on until mid-September. So they appointed an interim chief. Gentleman was highly qualified and all that. I come in and my budgets were wiped out. And I'm concerned with that because we don't have a lot of money. So I don't know if there's ways you can address that one issue, but I'm also more concerned that when these positions are filled, the deputy chief and the captain, it should really be the appointments from the full-time permanent chief.
That's
That's what we were asking for. We were asking that the interim chief not be allowed
Okay,
to appoint without the
because
approval.
that's critical. Because you could appoint two different people. Interim chief comes in and then what happens, because we've had this happen before, you get bad apples. Because now, gee, I was deputy chief, and now, gee, I'm just a firefighter. And it just causes,
No, we share your concerns.
so I either it was stated wrong in the article or I interpreted it wrong. And I'm really concerned with that because it makes a difference how everything is operating over there. Right now, I know you have nothing but lieutenants, and that's not a good mix, but I really feel until you can appoint a new full-time position as chief, that's probably the best way to go. Usually, in other departments, the lieutenant with the most seniority is the senior lieutenant, and you can give him more authority to operate like a captain or a deputy chief.
Dennis, just say, not to cut you off. So, first of all, with that's exactly what we said as far as the interim chief will not have the power to appoint any promotions
Okay.
without going through the select board. That's actually a concern that I brought up with that.
Very good.
The second part, what you're saying is exactly what we did. We took the senior lieutenant at this time
Yeah,
and made that person in charge of the department until an interim chief is
Appointed.
appointed. Yep.
no. And like I said, when I first started, watch the budgets because, man, I'll tell you, it's hard coming in a position and you're in a new budget term for 2 months and you don't have any money to spend. You know, all my clothing allowance, my maintenance, and, you know, I could go on and on. It was like, they're all zeros. And this was only, 8 weeks into a physical year, and it's like, so I just want to let you know what I went through and my concerns.
It's appreciated. We shared those concerns, so
Okay.
they're valid.
Okay, all right,
And we all talked about that the last night.
okay. Was the article misprinted, or did I?
I didn't read
I
the
didn't read
article,
it.
so I don't know what it said, but I know what we said during our meeting.
Well, I know, but being on the outside, I looked at there, oh, whoa, you know, I'm concerned if you appoint a full-time deputy chief, then you have a full-time chief, your budget salary account is gone, because he's gonna want 15, 20 grand more. And the town can't support that, and we don't need to have that much administrative staff, in my opinion. So,
Appreciate it, chief.
okay?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you for your time. Thanks, Chris.
Alrighty, so, old business, anything?
Just want to talk about the letter that was given from the police chief search committee. And the concern I brought up at our last meeting, again, I think it's but an issue that was mentioned, so kind of just want to talk about that so that people understand, that may have watched the select board meeting, understand that piece, because someone had questioned me in regards to it, that it was kind of just said and went through without any follow-up or anything like that, so. And the issue that was raised was, in the letter, it spoke to one of the candidates. Chris, do you have the letter by any chance? Maybe not.
Do you want me to go upstairs and?
Could you? Yeah, something I can
Give me a second, I'll
quote from the letter, not from,
I can pull it
Remember.
on my phone if you want to.
Chris and grab it.
Okay. Okay, you can sign these and that's fine. Oh, we just talked. Where's the departmental correspondence? Public comment.
I moved for one thing, take them all out of order, just one.
Yeah, but you throw with the whole order.
No, but I flip them over, and when we're done, they're all back in order.
Gracias. All done.
I have to read that article, see what that article says.
What?
I have to read that article.
Oh,
See what
my
it
God.
says.
I don't read the newspaper.
I was curious.
I do, I just don't read the Sentinel.
Actually, I have the
The
Sentinel
town
in my
reminder
Jeep.
once in a
Yeah,
while.
I'm just curious to see what it says.
I do have it in my Jeep. I picked it up the other day.
Do they got one out here?
I don't know. I don't think so. You're gonna go look?
I thought I saw one, that's why.
I don't know. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that we were misunderstood.
Oh, sure.
He's going to see if there's a sentinel out there. I guess we'll be reading it.
Reminder.
Oh, if it's in the, it might be in the reminder too. My thank you, sir.
There you go, sir.
Thank you.
so what the person was referring to, so it's the third paragraph. The committee ended up interviewing 5 candidates, as a 6th candidate declined to be interviewed after hearing that a select board member had been in the police station stating that the town would be hiring from within the department and not to worry as they were being covered. So just in regards to that, I just want to speak, well, I'm going to speak for myself as a member of the select board, that at no time was I in the police department making any type of comments in regards to that. So I'm not sure, you know, to me, when it was brought up, you know, it was brought up to the point where it wasn't brought to the committee from the person, but to the committee from the person to the committee, so.
Wait, can you repeat that one again?
Yes. So the gentleman who was the applicant for the position brought it to a member of the search committee. And that member brought it to the search committee to bring it up. So that's all.
Okay. So, I mean, if anybody's wondering, I'm pretty sure that select board member that they're referring to would be me.
Okay.
And it's no secret that I've supported Kevin. However, my concern really would be if someone declines to interview because one member of the select board has an internal positions back, then I'd be more concerned about their confidence level, which I'm not really sure would be benefiting us anyway. I'm 1 vote out of 3 votes, sorry, so they have 2 others. So I may have preference for one candidate, but that doesn't mean that that candidate is going to get the position, because I could clearly be outvoted. So this candidate is using that as an excuse to not show up for his interview?
I don't know if he's using it as an excuse. I just can tell you what was stated from that candidate to the member of the search committee that was brought forward. So,
Okay.
that's.
Well, if anybody's wondering, he's probably referring to me because I do support Kevin, and I have since I spoke to him, because it is no secret that I did not support him in the beginning either. So unless this next candidate knocks my socks off, but that remains to be seen. We have interviews on Wednesday.
Yes, we do.
We do.
I have no comment.
Perfect. Do you have any old business that you'd like to discuss?
No, but I want to, whoever came up with this, the questions, answers on the questions, thank you.
Oh, okay.
I could read them, so I'm guessing it's not Glenn's.
No, they're not mine.
Yeah.
As I might have talked, I'm thinking about what he just said.
You're like, hey, wait a minute.
But I didn't give you mine, the reason being because the board decided to interview each candidate. So why, you know, I want to.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think I know I was looking
Yeah.
for these just so that I would have thoughts on follow-up questions, because you guys were extremely thorough, and without repeating the entire interview again, I'm hoping that this will lead me to a couple of questions that are different.
And the only reason what I would suggest to this board to interview each candidate completely is because you don't have information from each
Correct.
Exactly. That's why I was asking.
committee member.
Correct.
So if you had
Yeah.
them all, then
No,
I'd
I
say,
know,
you know what,
I-
and you feel comfortable enough to follow through, but, you know, like I said,
Frankly, I would like to hear from the finalists,
yeah,
the answers to some of these myself.
yeah.
And I have a couple on my list, so please make sure that you get Chris your list by tomorrow, so that way he can, or Kathy can put them all into one document, so we can make sure that we are asking the same exact questions to both candidates.
I think it's that when you're interviewing someone too, and you're the person asking the questions, you kind of really focus on what the person's saying at that particular time, and you're not writing down. stuff like the other people on the committee are. So they're writing things down, but the same thing happens when they ask their
They
questions.
don't.
They don't-
You have the chance to kind of write things down as the candidate's speaking, so.
Now, did the board have an eval form that you're filling out as you went along with the candidates, or you just do this? What I see here, 1 through 5, y'all ask different questions.
No,
I'm
we
guessing.
all, right, there's the questions you see there, Rick,
Yep.
all the questions that were asked. Each particular committee member asked a set of questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Chris, for your information, I plan on asking some of these questions. I'm not gonna ask many. Or I'm gonna,
You don't need his permission.
Yeah, you don't need his permission.
Ask whatever you want.
I'm just telling you.
I'm not gonna be sitting in the hot seat here, so
Yeah, I know.
I'll probably be sitting in the back, so,
Hiding?
no,
Oh, okay.
watching the interaction between the board and the prospective candidate.
It's a very good thing. I'll be sitting here observing both candidates too.
But it's easier when you're in the back of the room.
Well, no, because I can see their face from this side.
Yeah, but I can watch the body movements too.
Well, I could, that would probably look creepy from this side. All right, that being said, does anybody have anything else?
I do not.
I do not.
I do not. So I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn for the evening.
I will second Rick's motion.
And I will call for all in favor.
Aye.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.